Zuppa Mare. Greetings and welcome to Cooking with Squirrel. If you're new here, I'm the Squirrel. Today's recipe is for my friend Mare of the Girls Play channel on YouTube and Twitch. They do kind of like a react stuff on the YouTube side, and they do gaming and other kind of multimedia type of stuff over on Twitch. So check them out, they're pretty awesome. They're all super funny. So Mare has family roots in Calabria, Italy. So she wanted something Calabrian, but I only do original recipes. So what I did was I took a whole bunch of Calabrian ingredients and shoved them all into this recipe. So this is gonna be a stewed tomato soup slash stew kind of situation. We're gonna make some tortellinis from some fresh pasta dough that I made. It's gonna be stuffed with the tropea onion jam and the nduja. And then the base is going to be onions, tomatoes, garlic, some minced Calabrian chilies, olive oil, and then the proteins are gonna be some cod and shrimp because Calabria has 500 miles of coastline, so there's a lot of seafood eaten there. And yeah, let's get into it. Let's make these tortellinis. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is this tropea onion jam is a little bit too liquidy to be used as a filling, so we're gonna strain out about 2 tablespoons of it. So I've got a little bitty fine mesh sieve here, and I'm gonna take, I don't know, maybe two tablespoons or so right in here. And then just kind of work it around to push some of that liquid out. And there we go. That's all we need to do with that. So I'm gonna throw a little bench flour down, not much. Get my dough there. I'm gonna roll it out to about as wide as my machine is, because that's how wide I need the sheet to be to make my tortellini cuts. So we'll start at 0 and we'll run this through a couple times. Move it on down. And we're gonna go all the way down to a 6. Which is fairly thin. And if it gets sticky, just throw a little extra flour on it. Now, I'm not an expert at making pasta. So what I suggest for this is I use the 1 to 1.64 ratio. So I weigh my eggs and then multiply the egg weight by 1.64 and add that much flour. And then I do it in the food processor, zip it up, let it rest for 30 minutes, and that's what I've got here. So that's super easy, but like I said, find either a good store-bought fresh pasta or whatever method you like to make pasta with, and then once you get to this point, then I'll give instructions. But I'm not an expert pasta guy, so I'll let you find somebody who is. Almost lost my rolling pin, and we're down to 6. So this is just a single portion of pasta. So if you're looking at pasta recipes, that's all we needed is a single portion. And we're gonna make a dozen tortellinis, and there will be pasta left over, and you can just turn that into some kind of pasta dish. I just made basically some pappardelle with the leftovers of my last batch. All right, you can see that's see-through. That's good enough. We're gonna stop there. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna square off the ends. We're gonna make a dozen, so we need 5 inches wide by 15 inches long to get a dozen. So I'm just gonna square that off. So that's more than enough. You could use a roller if you want, but I'm just gonna kind of eyeball this. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna split it down the center. So we're looking for 2.5 inch squares. So I'm just gonna go straight down the center and then cut these into squares. They don't have to be perfect. 2, 4, and there we go. Now, if you're not very fast at this, you might want to cover the pasta while you're making your tortellini because it might dry out. So what we're gonna do is take these set them into diamond formation. About a 1/4 teaspoon of nduja and a 1/4 teaspoon of onion. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just, you know, you want to fill up a little spot in the center, and that's all you don't need a ton in there. If you put too much, it will be difficult to fold these. So nduja is very flavorful. It's basically it's a salami from Calabria that is made with Calabrian chilies, which are probably one of the most famous things to come from Calabria. It's a very high fat content, so you can see it's very smooshy at room temperature. It's really nice to spread on some like crusty toast. People like it in pizzas. It makes a nice little delicious fat pool when you cook it at high heat in the pizza oven. There's our nduja, and now our onions. So just get a tiny dollop of onion. So when you eat this in the stew, you'll get a pop of kind of the sweet savory of the onion jam, and then as you chew through the tortellini, it'll then like transfer into like a savory heat from the nduja. It's very, very good. Now, if you're not up to making your own tortellini, you could buy any kind of, you know, store-bought tortellini would work as well, or you can just skip the tortellini. Totally up to you. This recipe is super easy minus this step. So the concept of the recipe, the stew base and the fish is really, really quick to put together. The only thing that slows you down really is this tortellini step. So, you know, if you're doing a weekday thing and you just want a fun dish for the weekday, you can skip the tortellinis or buy store-bought ones. Now what I'll do is I have a container of water here. I'm going to take one finger. We're going to do the upper 2 edges with a little water. We're going to fold the lower half over, match the tips up, and then you kind of push the air out around the fillings to make sure you don't squeeze the fillings out the side, or it'll make your seal won't work very well. So now that we have that, we have our little triangle of dough with filling in it. We're going to take the top and fold it away from us, and then we're going to wet the back side of the left piece, and we're going to fold these to make and squeeze together and make this nice little cuppy guy. All right, we're gonna go ahead and prep the rest of our ingredients, starting with a medium yellow onion. We're gonna do a small dice on this, so we will have it, peel it. We're going to about 1/4 inch dice on this. Onions into the bowl. And onto our rosemary. We're going to do 2 to 3 teaspoons of rosemary, depending on how much you like rosemary. I like it quite a lot, and so does Mare. So I'm going to go 3 teaspoons. Bunch that up and give it a nice mince. They're going to want to be a little jumpy at first. Just go slow until they start getting a little smaller, and then you can speed up a little bit. You could also use like a mini chopper or something if you have one of those to kind of whiz these up. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. Get this scraped up. Bench scrapers are a great tool for this kind of stuff. Oh, the nduja and the Calabrian chilies. I'll have a link in the description for those. They're sometimes hard to find locally. The tropea onions specifically, I could only get on Amazon. I couldn't find them anywhere locally. The nduja I got at an awesome local Italian grocery / deli called Cafe Bottega here in Leesburg, Virginia. If you have a nice Italian deli near you, go check them out, see if they have some of these ingredients. Otherwise, you might have to order them online. And the more ripe your tomatoes are, the better. These are beefsteak tomatoes. You can use pretty much any kind of larger, flavorful tomato. If you use like cherry tomatoes, there's going to be a lot of skins, but you could do it. We're doing 2 to 2.5 pounds, depending on, you know, they're just very variable in size and weight, so somewhere in that range. We're going to have these, and then we're just going to take that little core out with a little triangle cut there. I'll go ahead and knock that out on all of these. The riper these are, the better. Even to the point where maybe they're getting a little soft, doesn't hurt at all, because we're going to stew these down anyway. So if they're still good, if they're not rotten, they're you know, perfectly fine if they're a little soft. Okay, that's our cores out. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna flip this over. I'm gonna do about half-ish inch chunks. So I'm gonna go crosswise, half-inch chunks, and then we're gonna go half-inch the other way. And this is where, this cut here is where they get a little goofy on you, so that's why I use a serrated knife. It's a little easier to keep them under control. Okay, that's our tomatoes done. Now we're gonna mince some Calabrian chilies. I have a giant bucket of them. I also got this at the Cafe Bottega near me. So we're looking for about a 1/4 cup. It doesn't have to be exact. These are not super spicy, but they have a ton of flavor, so you don't have to really worry about adding too many and like burning yourself out. So we're gonna take these tops off and we'll get these kind of lined up. It's not gonna be super easy to line them all up, but kind of get them going all in the same direction and then just start working through them. And after our first pass through, you can just line them back up and then we'll just start working this down finer and finer. You want this pretty fine. The skins can get a little papery if they're too big. So make sure you get them down pretty small. This you could also whiz up in a mini chopper or something. I'm just showing how to do it without those tools. All right, this looks plenty good and smooth, so we'll get this in, measure it out into a 1/4 cup here. Should be pretty close. So that's all of our prep. I'm gonna clear down and get the burner out. Let's get to cooking. I'm gonna go about medium-high heat. About a 1/4 cup of, if you can find it, Calabrian olive oil. However, that might not be easy to find, so just some extra virgin olive oil will work. We're gonna go ahead and go in with our onions. They will not sizzle initially, but that's fine. We're not trying to put any color on these. We just wanna sweat them out a little bit. Big pinch of salt. Do about a teaspoon plus of black pepper to your taste. I like quite a bit. Got my shrimp and my cod ready to go. I am gonna split the cod into smaller pieces so that it'll tuck into the sauce easier. So I'm just gonna make this into 4 pieces. This is about a pound of cod. It doesn't have to be exact, close will be fine. And as far as the seafood goes with this, you can swap it out for anything you like. Any kind of fish that you think would work in a stew, shrimps, you could do probably mussels or clams or any kind of seafood will do. I'm gonna get some toasty bread going. Lovely local bread from Dolce & Ciabatta in Leesburg. It's a rosemary sourdough. A couple nice pieces of this to go with our soup. Zuppa Mare. So you can see these are starting to get soft and nice and translucent. So we'll go ahead and move on to our next step. We're gonna take 2 large cloves of garlic and we're gonna grate those in. You could also mince this, but please do use fresh. You will notice the difference. And don't grate your fingertips. Okay. Oh, just threw garlic on the floor, awesome. And we'll scrape all this in. Give that a little stir about, let it cook off for just a little bit. Go ahead and drop in our rosemary. Get that toasting off too. That'll get the rosemary flavor all through the oil and it'll get it through the whole dish. That smells delicious. So we'll give that about 30 seconds. This is all nice and fragrant now. It's kind of infused into the oil already, so we're gonna go in with our Calabrian chili paste. And same thing, we're gonna get that all mixed through. Make sure everything's nice and friendly. I wish you could smell this. This smells so good. Now you see we have this lovely reddish orange oil now. That flavor is gonna go through the entire dish. Smells like Calabrian chili in the whole room. I'm gonna go in with my tomatoes. And we'll mix this in. We're gonna let these start stewing down a little bit. And they'll start breaking down and getting soft. And we're gonna go ahead and go in with the rest of our salt. So it's gonna seem like a lot of salt, but this is a pretty big soup type situation. So we're not seasoning anything else directly. We're just seasoning the soup. So we're gonna do 2 teaspoons of Morton's Kosher coarse salt. 1 and 2. We'll mix that in. And for some people, this might not even be enough salt for as much stuff, because we've got a 1/2 pound of shrimp, a pound of fish, you know, 2.5 pounds of tomatoes, you could easily go a little more salt and still be well within tolerances. So adjust to your palate as usual. Now I stepped on the garlic. Now you can see there, everything's still mostly large pieces of tomato, but you can see they're starting to break down, get soft. So what we're gonna do is go in with 2 cups of water. Bring this back to a simmer. All right, we're back to a good simmer slash boil, and we're gonna go in with our fishy. So we're gonna take these lovely pieces of cod, and we're gonna nestle them down into the broth. And we're gonna cook these until they start to flake apart on their own as we stir. Pretty much want this at a gentle simmer, like low boil, gentle simmer. This fish will take 4 to 5 minutes probably to cook. And while we're waiting on that to cook, I'm gonna go ahead and chiffonade some basil for the garnish. So we're gonna take a few basil leaves, roll them up like a cigar, and then just cut them thin. And there we go. Nice, beautiful chiffonade of basil. After a few minutes, give it a stir and see if it's starting to flake yet. You can see some of the edges are starting to come off, so it's definitely starting to cook. You see here, just starting to flake, but it's not cooked in the center. So we'll give this a little stir. The goal is to have this all flaked apart at the end. So don't worry about, like, if, you know, we're not looking for whole pieces of fish at the end. We're looking for nice big flakes. And that's why I used a nicer cut of cod that has real big flakes. You could use a cheaper cut, not a big deal, but it's a little prettier with the big flakes. Okay, check it again. All right, it's very, very close. You see it's almost completely falling apart. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and go in with our tortellini, which is gonna need about 2 minutes. So we'll go right in with those. Make sure you give this a stir every once in a while so we make sure nothing's sticking to the bottom. Make sure everything's getting even heat. It's been about 2 minutes on our tortellini. You can see that they look cooked, and you can see that our fish has almost completely all flaked apart. You can see just nice big flakes here and there. That's cooked all the way through. We're gonna go in with our shrimp. They're only gonna need about a minute, and they'll continue cooking after, so you wanna pull them just a little earlier than you think maybe. So shrimp's in, stir them in. What you don't wanna do is cook the shrimp super hard for a long time. They'll get really tough. And you can also see as we stir through this, the tomatoes are broken down. There's still some little chunks left, but they're mostly broken down into a lovely sauce now. See, our shrimps have only been in for about 30 seconds. They're already starting to turn pink and curl up. Now, I don't remember if I said or not, these are 3140 shrimp. You could go bigger, but it's kind of nice to have shrimp that are a single bite size. 2630 is our bite size-ish. They're a little big, but they work also. Okay, so you can see the shrimp are no longer translucent. They are going to continue cooking. So we're going to go ahead and take this off the heat because we don't want to overcook the shrimp. We'll set that there to the side, and let's plate. So get a nice big scoop. Make sure you get a little of everything. And we'll go on with our basil. Camera eats first. Let's get some crusty bread in here. Okay, this is obviously super crazy hot. So I'm gonna let it cool down and I'll be right back. Let's give it a shot. I'm gonna go for tortellini first. That is super fun. So you get, like I said, you get the sweet pop of the onion jam first, and then the heat of the nduja takes over. The pasta is really nice and kind of al dente. It's really, really tasty. Again, you can skip these nduja and tropea onion jam filled if you want, but do it at least once. You know, this can be a super easy dish without making the tortellini from scratch, but do it on a weekend or something. For a weekday, buy some other tortellini or just skip the pasta entirely. Let's get into some fish here with broth. That's fantastic. The broth is super flavorful. It's not too spicy. It's got a little kick of spice to it. You can taste all the flavors coming through the broth. The fish is perfectly cooked because we just basically stopped as soon as it all flaked apart. It's a super easy, fun dish. Mara, I hope you like this. I hope this scratches the Calabrian itch of your people. Give it a try. If anybody makes this, tag me on Instagram. It's Cooking with Squirrel, just like it is here on YouTube. Check out Girls Play on YouTube and Twitch. They'll be linked down below and up in the corner there. Mara, your job is to find the next GP girl to get a recipe done. We've got 3 out of 7 so far, so we're trying to catch them all. If you have any positivity in your life, please try and pay it forward. Go out, do something nice for somebody today. Try and make the world a little bit better place. Thanks for stopping by, and if you are interested in watching any more of my videos, you can check one out up here. And if you are interested in watching my food and philanthropy videos, which is why I started the channel, those will be down here.